Hani.
Hello, hello. Tom, are you going to design a free website for me? No? So just over 3 weeks ago, I was in my space doing my own thing, and then an email pops up from Marcus, and it had 3 lines in it. It's like, InnerTalks, 28th of May, you are talking. This is not a negotiation. So, clearly, this guy has a lot of skills, but probably negotiation is not one of them. So I was like, whoa. You know, I'm very busy in my space. I have so many things going on, and just that thing popped up, and I need to think of what really I want to talk about. So I was like, mark it as unread, attend to it later. And I continued to do my own thing. But somehow it just kept popping up. And what's interesting about it is it's an open mic, and in our environments, like I work in communication, so I'm very used to speaking in front of people. But usually I know what I'm going to talk about. So like if I'm talking about marketing strategy, etc. And I know my audience, but this time is like I can potentially talk about anything. So my creativity was like skyrocketing. And what else? So I was in this space, and which is, I'm actually now, it's making me nervous. Because when it's personal, you can potentially look back into your life. So I was like, what am I going to talk about? Like where I was born, the traumas, the tragedies, the ups and the downs. I was born in Lebanon in 1980, and you don't want to be there in 1980. However, I had such an eventful life. Lots of friends I made, lots of, things that I've been through. Also, I moved to Dubai in 2003, and then I worked with Adidas, and like Marcus said, he gave me the chance. And then I moved out. In 2010, I joined InnerFight, and InnerFight was really a springboard for me. So I'm forever a disciple of InnerFight, and it gave me so much, and I'll explain to you why. In 2010, I was not in a really good space in my head, and I asked Marcus for the chance to be a part of InnerFight. I went, it was crazy. I've never been exposed to such amount of fitness and whatever. It was like really mental, so I didn't know what happened. But I know that the next day, I couldn't really walk. I was completely, screwed up. So I missed the following day. And so Marcus sends me a text at 6. Like the workouts were at 6, so like 7:05 sends me, where are you? Like, why did you not show up? And I was like, I can't feel my legs. It was like, last warning. This spot I can give to so many other people. And remember, in 2010, it was a very, very small circle. I actually had to, ask multiple times to be given that spot. And that spot was actually given free of charge at that time. So it's like, I'm not taking bullshit from you. If you want to commit to the program, you're going to listen and do as I say. And probably that was the first time I get into commitment and discipline in that manner. And that was a journey that was from 2010 to 2013. So we're talking about 3 years of waking up at 5 a.m. every morning, day in and day out. This is something that I had not had in the previous 30 years of my life. And obviously that has started to have positive impact and change on my life. I was waking early, I was sleeping early, I was fixing my food, I was feeling energized, So in my workspace, I became a team player, much more focused, much more committed, etc. So I gained enough confidence in those 3 years to get to a point whereby, I figured everything I need to figure out in my industry, and I want to just, jump ship and do my own thing. This is how confident I became in my skills and, in my, if you like, my sharp vision. So I went to Marcus and I was like, I'm thinking of leaving. And he was like, do it. I did not really have a plan. He was like, you're going to figure it out. Of course, Marcus, among other things, or among other influences and important people in my life. So I did it. And now my business venture is 2 years old, and we're doing great. So anyway, long story short, from the moment I received that email, I was like, right, what am I really going to talk about? Am I going to talk about the previous 30 years that I had in my life and all the ups and downs that I've had in my life? Or am I going to talk about, my business venture and how well I'm going to, how am I really going to inspire you by telling you we're doing awesome, we have so many projects, we're this, we're that, or, poor me, I had so many adversities in life. What is it that I really want to talk about? So I was like, from the moment I received that email till this moment that I stand in front of you, it was 21 days. So I was like, what can I possibly achieve in 21 days? So I want to live in the now. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk the inner talk. I want to walk the inner walk. Nice one. What can I possibly achieve in 3 weeks that I can actually stand and, share with you? So I came back to the whiteboard and I said, what are things that I've been meaning to do that I haven't somehow been procrastinating or busy because of life, requirements. So I was like, one of the things that I've had in mind for many years is running a marathon. Only recently I joined Flanners. I don't think he's with us today. And I told him that I have a plan to run a marathon. He was like, yeah, of course, mate. He's always cool and chilled out. So I created an account on Training Peaks, and I attended a few of the sessions. I did a couple of runs, but then, I'm flying with business, and soon our relationship just became WhatsApp buddies, moving my trainings, from the sessions that I missed. So obviously we fell apart, and it wasn't the energy was not there, so it didn't happen. So I was like, interesting. I have 3 weeks to actually run a marathon, and if I succeed in doing that, then that's something to talk about. So I didn't really have a plan or a program. I said, let's keep it simple. I walk out of my home and I run as far as I can, and wherever I can't go on any further, I just take a taxi and come back home. I don't need a program. I don't need to overcomplicate things. I found that I was overthinking things. So it was I was actually smoking earlier that day. I have a bad habit. So completely unfit, completely not prepared for anything. But now I accepted the 21-day challenge. So it was Wednesday evening. I finished a very long day at work. So I said, right, I went back, I had a banana, and I was like, I'll just walk out of home and start running. So I live across, next to Mall of the Emirates. I crossed the metro to the other side of Safuh Road and started running towards Beach Road. And I was the first 500 meters that I started running, I was like, okay. So I promised myself that I'm going to run as far as possible, and then I'm going to grab a taxi. So what did I really mean by running as far as possible? Because as long as I'm conscious, if I don't faint, and as long as I can keep on, putting one foot in front of the other, and as long as there are grocery stores to serve as water stations down the, beach road, I should be fine. So in the first 500 meters that I started running, I thought, is it possible that I can actually run a full marathon just like that? Just walk out of my door and run a full marathon. I was like, it felt overwhelming, but I was like, let me not overthink it and let me just run, And then another idea came to my mind. It's no matter how unfit I am, surely I'm probably fitter than Marcus and Tom on their last day of the run of MDS. So in my mind, and in my legs, and my condition, if I show up on the tent on the last day, I'd smoke them. Even though they're fitter, but definitely they would be like completely screwed up by that time. So I was like, my two imaginary friends are with me, and I'm running the last marathon with them. And somehow these like positive thoughts started to come, and I don't want to overthink it. So just running down Beach Road, I started my run at 8:30 p.m. And just running down probably at 2 hours later, 1.5 hours later, I was in front of these coffee shops on Beach Road, and you have all like the guys smoking shisha, and I was like really tired, so I was stopping and vomiting in front of them. I'm so you know. But I kept on going, using grocery stores for my water stations, and going and going and going. And as I was going further and further, it started to feel that I can actually finish the marathon now. Like, why would I not? But I was still like hesitant till I got like to the dry docks, which was 22 kilometers down the road. And there I stopped running for a moment. It was a bad time. Like, it was already 3 hours down, so like I wasn't running for time, I was running for distance. I was just running for the hell of it. So I said, I have two options. Either I keep on going towards Sharjah, because that's what I promised myself, or if I turn around and come back, then I can get back home and it'll be like a full marathon, and then I would have achieved what I had set to achieve. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to turn around and come back. And I did. And 7 hours later, I was back home, thank you. Having run 44 kilometers. So I came back a marathoner. I literally left my doorstep, ran my first. I've never ever ran such a distance. I've done only one half marathon in 2013. So that was great. I felt like I was like, that's interesting. On the first day of the challenge, I finished a marathon. So what can I possibly achieve more in 21 days? I was like, wow. Faster. Okay. So I can wrap up. So the idea of mental strength really evolves into wanting to understand something about mental weakness. In the house of no weakness, and in your presence, the last speaker, I can see you. I need to choose my words more carefully. I was like, I want to go to a place to see people with special needs, because I was never, I don't know what it feels like. So I called my friend Lola, and she told me, if you can come on Sunday, you can volunteer. We're going to be in Vox Cinema or something. So I went there, and I went to the cinema, and I was sat there, volunteering, helping. And there was a guy next to me that was with a Down syndrome, an autistic guy behind me, like a schizo here. So I was like, wow, it was just like I just ran a marathon. I can think in a critical way, I can analyze, I can memorize, I can do so many things. And these guys, most of them are abandoned. Like they're like families, no one asks about them. So it's, like you said, it's also very difficult for them. So I felt humbled, I felt thankful, I felt grateful, I felt more determined that I want to achieve even more stuff. So I was like, what can I possibly achieve more? I had a very big project for May 15, which kept me like really, really busy. So I was like, I'm confined in my home office. I can't really move a lot, so I can't really go to the gym every day or whatever. So what can I possibly do inside this space? And I chose basic moves like push-ups, sit-ups, burpees, double unders, whatever. I chose 8 moves, and I said I'm going to do 1,000 of each. It's something that we've done once before, or a few times before. And here I was actually continuing to do my own thing, but now I can take breaks and just do 50 push-ups here, 20 push-ups there, whatever. And all of a sudden I became a very physically active person without changing a lot in my lifestyle. 2 weeks have passed. On Sunday, I did a count to see what I have actually achieved from the 1,000. I did actually 400 of each in 2 weeks. So I was like, shit, I need to finish another 600 in only 4 days, which means I have to do 150 burpees every day, 150 push-ups every day for the coming 4 days. Otherwise, I'm not going to have anything to talk about on Thursday. So anyway, okay. So I actually achieved that as well. And I overcome a fear, and that's going to be my last one. For some reason, I developed fear. Not fear, but, I prefer to, shower in hot water. And over time, I was like, I would like not to shower in cold water, and I kind of avoided it, and it became like some kind of mental lock. So I was like, I want to do an ice bath. And last night, I bought like 15 bags of ice. My parents are in town. They saw me putting ice in the bathtub. So my mother was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm preparing for tomorrow's talk. And my dad was like, your son is weird. So I put my feet there, and it was freezing cold. I was like petrified in my head. It was like, I can't do it, I can't do it. I take a deep breath and I just dive in. And actually it's not really cold, because you feel like somehow numb, electric feeling. But I felt that something really changed in my mind, and I somehow overcame it. So only in 21 days you can see how much I could have actually achieved. And maybe it's not a lot for many people, but for me it's something. And it really put me out of the comfort zone. I felt more balanced, more inspired. You were the inspiration for me without you knowing, so thank you for that, and I hope I gave something back today.
Thank you, Hani.